Hello there guys and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my personal ultimate Chelsea team, Chelsea 11 if you will. But before actually getting into that, I want you to put your ultimate Chelsea teams in the comment section below before I even go through mine. And after I'm done, you can criticise my choices. So I'll go with the 4-3-3 formation as I think that way I can fit my chosen players in the best. I know most people usually go with like a 4-4-2 for these things. And, you know, some people might suggest going with what we use currently, the 3-4-3. But like I said, I'm going to go with the 4-3-3. For a lot of these, I don't think there's much debate. But I'm going to be honest, and I had to do a lot of thinking and deciding for some of them. So starting off in goal. And I think there's only really one choice, let's be honest. And that's Petr Cech. Obviously, he joined Chelsea in 2004. Played 494 games for the club in all competitions. Kept 228 clean sheets, winning basically every trophy there is to win. But arguably, and well, most definitely his biggest contribution coming during our Champions League campaign in the 2011-2012 season, especially in the semi-finals against Barcelona with some incredible saves against one of the best teams of all time, let's be honest. And obviously also the final against Bayern Munich, in particular his heroic penalty saves. That game, you know, saving a penalty by Arjen Robben in extra time, you know, getting us to the penalty shootout, in which then he ended up saving 2 penalties by Ivica Olic and Bastian Schweinsteiger. Sadly, he left Chelsea to join Arsenal after the 14-15 season, after winning the league again as backup keeper to Courtois, but still winning the league again at Chelsea. But obviously still, Petr Cech remains an absolute legend at Chelsea. Coming to the centre-backs, and obviously our captain, leader, legend, John Terry's in there. 713 appearances for Chelsea, the Premier League's highest ever goal-scoring defender with 40 goals. He made his debut in 1998, won everything there is out there to win, you know, so many records, so many times chosen to be in the UEFA Team of the Year, in the FIFA Team of the Year as well. So, like, just an incredible career. He's the 4th highest capped player at one club in England. Like, you know, he's just an incredible player, you know. Obviously, like Petr Cech, he won everything as well. You know, basically everything there is out there to win. And sadly, he ended up leaving Chelsea at the end of last season, which I'm still very sad about. Basically, miss him every day. But, you know, he ended a great career, obviously enjoying his time at Aston Villa now. I'm not sure if he's actually enjoying it that much. But he's at Aston Villa now, and hopefully he'll be back at Chelsea sooner rather than later. And the other defender for me, some might argue with it, but for me, it is Ricardo Carvalho. Joining Chelsea from Porto in 2004, he played an instrumental part in winning back-to-back Premier Leagues in his first 2 seasons at the club, forming one of the best, if not the best, centre-back partnerships with John Terry the Premier League has ever seen, to be honest. He then ended up leaving Chelsea for Real Madrid in summer of 2010 after winning his 3rd Premier League during his time in the club, obviously, in the 2009-2010 season. Coming to the left-back, and again, I don't think there's the smallest doubt of who's going to take that spot in the team. It's Ashley Cole. Joining Chelsea from Arsenal in 2006, and basically after the Roberto Carlos era ended, he was arguably the best left-back in the world for a few years. And he was definitely the best English left-back, is definitely the best English left-back of all time. You know, playing an instrumental part in, you know, the whole of the club's success ever since he joined, to be honest. Including converting a penalty in the 2012 Champions League final against Bayern Munich, until he then sadly left the club at the end of the 2013-14 season. He once said in an interview that his wishes to come back to Chelsea. He's obviously still playing at LA Galaxy out in the USA. So his wishes to come back to Chelsea in maybe a scouting role or something. So I'd love it if he came back, to be honest. Now coming to the right back. And that's the first position which I wasn't too sure who to fill it with, to be honest. And whoever I would end up choosing wouldn't come near the other 4 players in the team so far. But I ended up going with Branislav Ivanovic. Yeah, I did. Ron Harris is obviously a player, Ron Chopper Harris, that a lot of people will go for. But, you know, I've never seen him play. And I couldn't just pick him just on the word of other people that he was really good. So I struggled to do that, just myself. Some might argue that Cesar Spilicueta would deserve a spot in their team ahead of Branislav Ivanovic. But if you think about it, how often have we actually seen Dave play a right back? You know, when we won the 2 league titles that he was involved in, obviously, once he played at left back, you know, we won under Mourinho, and last year he played at centre back. So can I really put him at right back? I don't really think I can. Some might say Paulo Ferreira should be in there, considering he was part of our record-breaking team from 2004 until 2006. But I always thought he was arguably the weakest link in that team, so I'm not quite sure. But, you know, it was a tough decision for me, but I ended up going with Branislav Ivanovic. Joining Chelsea from Lok Moscow in 2008, his physicality, strength and especially his power of will. Sometimes he had basically a hole in his foot, was bleeding just in his boot. His boot just was full of blood at the end of the game, and he just carried on playing. That power of will, massive asset to the team, really, like to the team's success. And not to forget, scoring the last-minute winner in the Europa League final against Benfica in 2013. Sadly, his Chelsea career turned for the worse, to put it slightly, with some horrendous performances, especially at the beginning of the 15-16 campaign, after having such a great year the season before when we won the league as well. So it was quite depressing, I'm not going to lie. Ivanovic then ended up leaving Chelsea for Zenit St. Petersburg last January. He was allowed to leave on a free. Coming to the midfield, and the most obvious one, obviously being Frank Lampard. In most people's opinion, Chelsea's greatest ever player. Joining Chelsea from West Ham United in 2001, Super Frank ended up being the top goal scorer for the club. Top goal scorer ever, with 211 goals, and also the highest scoring Premier League midfielder of all time. My favourite, and in my opinion, the most impressive record that he achieved during his career was playing 164 consecutive Premier League games from October 2001 until December 2005. Yes, he did not miss a single Premier League game in that span of time. 164 consecutive Premier League games. Incredible record, that. Obviously, he scored both goals at Bolton in 2005, the day we secured our first league title in 50 years, which was obviously just an incredible day, wasn't it? And of course, with John Terry being suspended in Champions League final 2012 against Bayern Munich, Frank Lampard captained Chelsea to the title, to winning the trophy with the big ears. Absolute legend. Best player at the club ever. In my opinion, John Terry is the greatest player, just because, one-man club kind of thing. I know he's at Villa now, but still. But Frank Lampard is probably, or definitely, the best player we've ever had. And the next one I'd say is also kind of obvious. It's Claude Makélélé. Joining Chelsea from Real Madrid in 2003, he made a mark in that central defensive midfield role, like no other Premier League player has ever done before then, and probably will ever do. He was just a monster in that position, an absolute monster, playing a crucial role in our outstanding defensive records, especially from 2004 until 2006. He was just that good in that CDM position that it's now widely regarded as the Makélélé role. Makélélé ended up leaving Chelsea in July 2008 to join PSG, but obviously an absolute monster, an absolute legend at the club as well. Such a nice guy as well when you hear interviews of him as well. An absolute gentleman, really. And the last one of my midfield three, is Michael Essien. Joining Chelsea from Olympique Lyon in 2005, the Bison, as his nickname was, he was just so good. Like one of my favourite ever central midfielders to watch. He did everything. He never stopped running. He defended, he dictated play, he attacked, and not to forget the guy also scored goals, and some bangers as such as well. Most memorable one for me being the absolute thunderbolt against Arsenal, and also that goal against Barcelona. But let's not talk about that game, because otherwise I'll just get very angry. Essien then left Chelsea in January 2014 after already spending the 2012-2013 season on loan at Real Madrid. Still don't quite understand how he was good enough for them, but not for us. But that's a different question for a different day. Now coming to the attack, and I'll say straight away, one of the players won't end up playing in his actual position, but I'll come to that. Starting off with a player that some people might well debate whether he should be in this or not. Eden Hazard. Yes, I went with Eden Hazard. He joined Chelsea from Lille in 2012. Hazard turned out to be one of the most technically gifted players I ever saw in a Chelsea shirt. Probably the most technically gifted player I ever saw playing live in a Chelsea shirt. He's just incredible. And not many players had bigger impacts on the success of our club, that he did in his 5 years out of being here. He won 2 Premier League titles. He won the League Cup. He won the Europa League as well. And he was, he has certainly given us a fair share of just incredible moments. Obviously, his 2015-16 season was everything but good. But the whole team, suffered from it. So it just underlines again his importance to the team, to be honest. Obviously, he's going into his 6th season at Chelsea now. Obviously, season started, but he hasn't featured yet because of injury. And who knows how much more is still to come from him, and who knows how much longer he will stay at Chelsea. Because, 6 years of one club in nowadays football is a very, very long time already, especially when it's not your boyhood club, if you will. So, let's hope for a lot more years of Eden Hazard. Let's not get into whether we believe that or not, but let's just hope for it. Let's hope for some more incredible performances this season. And hopefully, and probably, he will be in the squad on Saturday against Leicester. Gianfranco Zola on the right wing. I know he's obviously not a right wing. He wasn't a right wing. Well, let's be honest. Zola was, or let's say would have been, incredible in every attacking position anyway. So it doesn't really matter where I put him in this anyway. But Zola, you know, he signed Chelsea in November of 1996. To be honest, I'm not quite sure why he joined in November 1996. I'm not sure if the transfer window was different then. I mean, I was 1. I mean, I don't remember. But he's probably the most gifted player and the most exciting player to ever wear a Chelsea shirt, you know, if we're being honest. I mean, I have to be honest and say I never actually saw him play. I watched a lot of games back in which he featured. I watched a lot of his goals, you know, and stuff like that, especially that back heel flick from the corner against Norwich in 2002. That goal, whenever I watch it, even though I didn't watch it at the time, obviously, it was just a mad goal. Like, you know, Ranieri put it as the time. Zola's a wizard, and wizards try everything, and that's why things come off, because he's just that good. Absolutely incredible player, and he was obviously, he played a big part in Chelsea becoming from, you know, a mediocre team, if you will, to becoming a big team, along with players like Ruud Gullit. He just was that spark that made us, like, people wanted to watch Chelsea because he was just so good. Age 37, in 2003, he ended up leaving Chelsea to join Cagliari in Italy. And the big man. That big man. The man you all knew was going to be in here. Didier the King Drogba. Didier the King Drogba. Joined Chelsea from Marseille in 2004. And, you know, ended up being the best striker in history of our football club. You know, he won everything there is to win. Scoring goals, especially against Arsenal in finals. You know, his power, his strength, but also just his technique. It was simply outstanding. And who can forget about Didier Drogba on the 19th of May in 2012? BFG, if you're watching, hope you remember. Because BFG is a Bayern Munich fan. Anyway, scoring the 1-1 in the 88th minute with one of the best heading goals you will ever see in your entire life. It was just, I went absolutely ballistic. I think I punched a hole in the wall if I remember correctly. Not even in my house. Poor people I lived with at the time. And then win the trophy by slotting away the last and deciding penalty. Obviously made an absolute legend, an absolute icon at the club for good. You know, it was just done and dusted there. He was never going to be nothing else than a legend and an icon at Chelsea. He actually left Chelsea after that, but then came back to Chelsea in 2014, being backup striker to Diego Costa, but still playing an instrumental part in Chelsea winning the League Cup and the Premier League that very year. Right, so that's my team. Let me know down in the comment section below if you agree. And if you disagree, who would you replace? And who would you replace them with? You know, let me know all of that down in the comment section below. I'm really interested to know who you guys will pick. And don't forget, this is all personal opinion, you know. I couldn't choose people like Ron Harris or Peter Osgood because I just obviously never saw them play. Like, even watching clips of them is a bit more difficult than watching clips of Gianfranco Zola, for example. But yeah, that's it from me. Again, leave me all of your thoughts on my team. If you disagree, if you don't, like I said in the beginning, leave me your ultimate Chelsea 11, your ultimate Chelsea team down in the comment section below as well. Leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe to 100% Chelsea. We massively appreciate it if you did that. It'd just be really cool if you did, to be honest. Check out my social media links, which you can see somewhere over here. Laus1507 on Instagram and Twitter. Massively appreciate it if you follow me there as well. Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Come on the Chelsea. And I'll see you next time.